Welcome dear audience, students and scholars. Here I'm Dr. Amjad Ali. In this video we are going to discuss a case study, the worldwide slowdown in economic growth from 1972 to 1995, beginning in the early 1970s and lasting until the mid 1990s. World policymakers faced a perplexing problem, a global slowdown in economic growth. Let's see empirical example here, growth around the world. This table presents data on growth in real GDP per person for the 8 major economies. Growth in the United States fall from 2.2% before 1972 to 1.5% from 1972 to 1995. Other countries also experienced similar or more severe declines accumulated over many years. Even a small change in the rate of growth has a large effect on economic well-being. Real income in the United States today is almost 20% lower than that it would have been had growth remained at its previous levels. So, okay, there are one of the main question arises that what did this slowdown occur? Studies have shown that it was attributed to a fall in the rate at which the production function was improving over time. There are many hypotheses to explain this fall in productivity growth. Here are four main hypotheses discussed here. First one is measurement problem, oil price, second and third workers quality, and the fourth depletion of ideas. Okay, let's discuss the detail of these four hypotheses. The measurement problems. Okay, one possibility is that the productivity slowdown did not really occur and that it shows up in the data because the data are flawed, as we have discussed in our classical model, that mining inflation is correcting for changes in the quality of goods and services. The same issue arises when mining output and productivity. For instance, if technological advance leads to more computer being built, then the increase in output and productivity is easy to measure. But if technological advance leads to faster computer being built, then output and productivity give us increased level of production, but that increase in more we can say subtle and hurdle to measure the productivity. Okay, government statisticians try to correct for changes in quality, but despite their best efforts, the resulting data are far from perfect. Unmeasured quality improvements mean that our standard of living is rising more rapidly than the official data indicate. This issue should make us suspicious of the data, but by itself it cannot explain the productivity slowdown. To explain a slowdown in growth, one must argue that measurement problems got worse. There is some indication that this might be so. As history passes, fewer people work in industries with tangible and easily measured output such as agriculture, and more work in industries with the intangible and less easily measured output such as metal services. Yet few economists believe that measurement problems were the full story. Oil prices. Okay, when the productivity slowdown began around 1973, the obvious hypothesis to explain it was the large increase in oil prices caused by the actions of the OPEC oil cartel. Okay, the primary piece of evidence was the timing. Productivity growth slowed down at the same time that oil price skyrocketed. Okay, over time, however, this explanation has appeared less likely. One reason is that the accumulated shortfall in productivity seems too large to be explained by an increase in oil price. Petroleum-based products are not at large a fraction of typical firms' cost. In addition, if this explanation were right, productivity should have shot up when political turmoil in OPEC caused oil price to plummet in 1986. Unfortunately, that did not happen again. Worker quality. The third hypothesis is the worker quality. Some economists suggest that the productivity slowdown might have been caused by changes in the labor force. In the early 1970s, the large baby boom generation started leaving school and taking jobs. At the same time, changing social norms encouraged many women to leave full-time work from their houses and enter in the labor force. Other economists point to change in worker quality as gigged by human capital, although the educational attainment of the labor force continued to rise throughout this period. It was not increasing as rapidly as it had in the past. Because of these developments, we have witnessed that lower the average level of experience among workers, which in turn lower average productivity. Okay, moreover, declining performance on some standardized tests suggests that quality of education was declining. If so, this could explain slowing productivity growth. Our fourth and final hypothesis, the depletion of ideas. Okay, still other economists suggest that the world started to run out of new ideas about how to produce in the early 1970s, pushing the economy into an age of slower technological progress. These economists often argue that anomaly is not the period since 1970 but the preceding 2 decades also. In the late 1970s, the economy had a large backlog of ideas that had not been fully implemented because of the Great Depression of 1930s and the World War II in the first half of 1940s. After the economies used up this backlog, the argument goes and slowdown in productivity growth was likely. Indeed, although the growth rates in 1970s and 1980s and early 1990s were disappointing compared to those of 1950s and 1960s. They were not lower than average growth rate from 1870 to 1950. As a good doctor will tell you, sometime a patient illness goes away on its own, even if the doctor has failed to come up with the convincing diagnosis and remedy. This seems to be the outcome of productivity slowdown in the middle of 1990s. Economic growth took off, at least in English-speaking countries of the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. As with the slowdown in economic growth in 1970s, the acceleration in the 1990s is hard to explain definitely, but at least part of the credit goes to advance in computer and information technology, including the internet. So this is all about the case study of the worldwide slowdown in economic growth from 1970 to 1995. So see you with another video. Ciao.